Hi, and welcome to today's daily reading. The date is 15th of August, and August 15th's reading is coming from Time for Peace, Peace in Our Hearts, Peace in the World by Ruth Fishel. Daily Meditations for Peace and Healing. And Ruth has other books in the Time for category, Time for Us, Time for Me, Time for Hope, Time for Joy, and Time for something else. You can check it out on ruthfishel.com. Anyway, today's reading for August 15th begins with a quote from Deepak Chopra. Today, wherever you go, carry the intention of peace, love, and harmony in your heart. And then there's a submission by Christopher B., which reads, early in recovery, I was at a loss regarding the concept of God or a higher power. Although I had been a practicing member of the organized denomination of my youth, I didn't really believe in God per se. What moved me was the familiar service ritual and the music that accompanied it. The hymns of my childhood could move me to tears, and the familiar service format was comforting. It took me back to my childhood and all that seemed safe and good. Yet, as I started to become engaged in the recovery process, I came to know my higher power in a quiet, subtle way. I found that I was feeling unsettled and fairly miserable most of the time, except when I was interacting with others. No matter how terrible I felt, when I walked into the rooms of my recovery group, there was something there that gave me a sense of hope that perhaps someday I might actually feel better about myself and my life. Although certain individuals were kind and helpful, it was the overall collective presence of solid recovery in those rooms that made me feel safe and hopeful, and that was definitely a power that was greater than any one of us alone. To this day, my own path towards an inner sense of peace is often found within the people who continue to help me lead a life in a good, orderly direction. By continually returning to this God of my understanding, I know that I am also always returning to peace. And then Ruth's got a little bit at the bottom which says, today I turn to the God of my understanding and the people in my life to find peace. Well, it's a bit of a longer reading, but I think worthwhile. It's interesting, good orderly direction, which, if you take the first letter of each word, it does spell God. So the God of our understanding will lead our lives in a good orderly direction. So fairly similar to me, really. I loved church as a young person, as a child and a young person. And I loved the hymns, and hymns can still move me to tears. And I get a crack in my throat when I start to sing a particularly emotional one. And usually, I have to stop when I'm singing the first verse, but I can get into it once the first verse, the music and the words of it have kind of been absorbed into my being, I suppose, and then I can sing the rest of the hymn. But yeah, the familiarity of the service format can be very comforting, as can the people that are in the church. The congregation, if you have gone to a congregation and for a long time, I tune into the church that I grew up in on a Sunday morning very early, and I love to connect with the energy of that little place. And the church has changed because the church was knocked down, the actual building, and then they built a small community church in its place, with a hall attached. So the structure is not the same as when I was a child or even when I got married the first time in that church. But the energy is still the same. There's lots of people in the congregation that are still the same. And I know that I could turn to any one of them and confess my insecurities, confess my struggle, and they would be there for me. But we're Scottish, and we're kind of the Church of Scotland, which is kind of comes from the Presbyterian, and Scottish people in general are quite private. So you know, there's not there's not much like deep sharing goes on in these places. But when you look at you know, as a 12-step program in recovery, these people do share at a very deep level, a very personal level, a very unique level that doesn't happen in many other places, you know, except in therapy. So I can see the benefits of these safe rooms that people find themselves in, where they feel connected to their higher selves and that power that is bigger than all of them together. Anyway, that's it. My 5 minutes are up. Imagine getting 2 readings done on the day that they're meant to be done, 2 days in a row. Yay, me. Okay, bye now. Namaste. Love to you all. Bye.